finish up our morning session. We have Christian joins from Newcastle, who has been involved in lots of work about digital accessibility, particularly for students, and is going to tell us about some of that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I realise I've got the difficult position of being in between you and lunch, and we're running behind. I'm sure the people online are laughing because they've already got their lunch. That's the benefit of a hybrid event. Thank you. Yes, I thought also, I'm going to waffle. I noticed the gender dynamic. There's the gender split between the people who are talking and organising and the people who are just here attending are always, I would say, completely opposite. And that's weird. Right, so I'll get started. Yeah, so I'm from Newcastle. My job title is, in fact, I need to click on the thing to make that start working. Yeah, there we go. I'm a learning software developer, brackets skilled, it's my job title. I work developing numbers and the assessment system and Chiron, a tool for converting LaTeX to HTML native. Okay, so furthermore, to raise the stakes, this is an hour-long workshop that I've cut down to half an hour. We'll get there. Okay, so I'll talk a bit about what we've done at Newcastle to improve the accessibility of our teaching and show you a bit about one of the tools we've used for that. Okay, right. So I've already set these things, that's who I am. I am disabled in a few ways. I'm probably not going to be any more vertical than this. I can't stand for very long. I won't bother listing everything else. I always forget a couple. Okay, so doing this talk last is a bit weird because I've got a couple of slides introducing accessibility. So accessibility, I'll read out this quote because it's a good one. Accessibility means that people can do what they need to do in a similar amount of time and effort as someone that does not have a disability. It means that people are empowered, can be independent, and will not be frustrated by something that's poorly designed or implemented. I'm happy with that definition of accessibility. Can you access it? Can you do the thing you need to do? So we have a few obligations under law in this country. Laughing because no one takes it seriously.
Right, I think just do it.
So there's a couple of important bits of law. The Equality Act 2010, that's the one that defines protected characteristics. If you've all done your mandatory trainings, you know what those are, and we can all recite them. We won't. Disability is a protected characteristic. There's stuff in that. PSBAR, the public sector body's accessibility regulation, is the one that really says some strict things about what we need to offer as public sector bodies, which is what universities are. All content that we provide online has to meet the standard WCAG, the Web Content Accessibility Guideline. It's a big, long checklist of things that really about how people interact with your material. So government, the Department for Education have got a good page explaining what you need to do. JISC have also got a helpful page that's linked from the slide. But the short message is you've got to do something. I think we're now 8 years into this. 3 years in, it was still a surprise to people I was talking to. Hopefully we've all heard about this now. None of us are doing it, I think, in satisfying the law. We've got to do it unless it would impose a disproportionate burden. That's the pair of words from the law. But that is not a get out. That's not a way of wiggling out. It doesn't really mean, oh, it's difficult. It means the benefit from this is so small compared to the effort of doing it. If a student says, I need to attend all my lectures from Hawaii because that's where I think best, you say, no, that's disproportionate. You will attend your lectures in Newcastle in the cold, and we'll wrap you up. So just follow the law. Is that right? So I'll talk now a bit about notes. I think that's the main kind of material that we give our students. Apart from lecturing, they are supposed to end up with a set of notes from their lectures. We teach from notes, they transcribe them, that kind of stuff. We provide notes. Many people, I mean, when I was a student, would write on a blackboard and have handwritten notes. Is anybody still doing that? I'm not going to judge you. So handwritten math is really convenient. It's really easy to write down maths by hand. Doing diagrams is even easier. I mean, we could count the lifetimes cumulatively lost to people battling with flicks and things. So it's easier. Even something like LaTeX is time consuming. So there's a really strong incentive to handwrite stuff. And in the hour-long version of this, I have a really witty couple of screenshots of my handwriting and go, can you read it? And of course you can. But students want their notes in other formats. So if a student has impaired vision, low vision, or no vision, a piece of paper with some stuff handwritten on it is useless to them. So they might need more contrast, they might need bigger text, or they might need it read aloud. If a student can't hold a piece of paper, they might, having it on a screen that's mounted somewhere would be better, or having it put somewhere. Students with conditions such as dyslexia might want to change the font that's used, reflow the text, typeset it differently, be able to navigate through the structure in a different way other than leafing through pages. And that's another accommodation for people with poor memory or poor executive function. Being able to reading through something and by da-di-da's theorem, like, oh, I've forgotten what that was. If your notes are searchable, or you at least have a list of headings that you can click on, then that is much easier to keep the flow going in your head than going back and forth through the paper. And there are lots of other reasons. I think no talk about accessibility is going to list everything you need to do. I think a few of us have said that today. There will always be some other reason or some other adjustment to make. Okay, so this is awkward because you're all people who've chosen to come to. Again, when this is a workshop or I go to a university, it's fine, but you've all made the effort to come to this hideously inaccessible space to listen about accessibility. So I'll tell the people online why you should care. Accessible teaching can allow the students to access teaching. That's the whole point. There are large numbers of students who never make it to a university or struggle at university because they can't access teaching. That's the main reason. Secondly, when you do this, those students feel welcome. They feel part of the student body, of the mathematical community. That's really important. I think, you mentioned about the mental load of things. When you have accessible teaching, students are wasting less energy on making accommodations for themselves. I'm just drawing this. So that all adds up to, and everybody here today has said, my department's got no money. That adds up to a student staying on the course or not. And for us, that means big bucks. Yeah. Okay. So I will explain a bit about what's wrong with handwritten notes. I've said a bit. So handwritten notes can't be resized. You can bring them closer, I suppose. They can't be reset, meaning that the line of text that you've written, you can't split that into 2 lines. You can't increase the gap between the lines or the words. It's hard to change the color of a handwritten piece of text. I have seen, and I genuinely, this was an accessibility accommodation that some university put in, filters, like colored sheets to put over a sheet. Was it you, Cordelia, actually, that told me about this? Maybe not. Yeah. An event we were both at. Yeah, that's nuts. You could say, get AI to read the handwritten maths. It's not reliable enough. And I'm sure you're all aware of the risk of a misconception coming in early. If a student reads the wrong thing or gets the wrong end of the stick early on, that sticks, that stays. Handwritten notes have no structural metadata. You don't know where chapter 1 is in a book without looking through it. You don't know where chapter 4 is. And finally, your handwriting style might be difficult to read. And at university, one of the beautiful things about university is people come from all over the world and people are taught to write in different ways. You might have the most beautiful French script, but I can't read it. So you might say, well, we'll give students PDFs. Everybody must LaTeX their notes. Good. Text in PDFs is searchable sometimes. There's no one in the room or online to do with the PDF-A stuff, which is happening with adding accessibility to PDFs, I suppose. You can zoom in on a PDF, but I think Andrew and Francesca showed you can zoom in on a bit. You can't zoom in, you make it all bigger, but you still can't have that whole line in your awareness at once. You can't change colors, you can't change text, the font. There's loads of stuff you can't do. I think the other two have made good points about that. So the problem is PDF is fundamentally designed for print, which is a visual, physical medium. Okay, so you can put stuff on the web. Andrew made a really good case for all of the amazing things you can do on the web. The World Wide Web was invented by a physicist specifically for the purpose of putting physics on. It's no good at displaying mathematical notation over many years on. So the questions are, how do you display mathematical notation on the web? How do you write mathematical notation? Because students, well, they're mathematicians now, they're going to become proper mathematicians. They need to be able to write stuff. We need to be able to write those notes. And then finally, I said, you can lose your lifetime to writing diagrams. How do you do diagrams on the web? If you're not Andrew. Okay, so a couple of answers. First of all, there's a thing called MathML. That's HTML is the code you use to write web pages. MathML is a specific maths part of that. It finally, after 20 odd years, is supported and produces things like I've got a line here: integral x squared dx equals 1/3 x cubed plus c. That's legible, I would say, and it will scale and will change fonts and everything. But it's hard to write. I've got a snippet of the code underneath. It's not intended for humans to write. So there's also MathJax, which is a sort of thing you load into a page, which takes LaTeX code, which almost all of us know how to write, and converts that to something that's displayed. Good. It also does a really good job of adding in the kind of information that assistive technology needs. So you can navigate through that with a keyboard, you can and then highlight specific bits and reset it and get it read out. Okay. So finally, diagrams. No, there isn't a good, so I'm going to even forget the problem of creating a diagram. Assuming you've made a diagram, there isn't an automatic solution for describing that diagram, which is something you need to do for someone who can't access it visually. So, given that it can't be done automatically, my advice is write short alt text, a description of the diagram. So there's nothing that everybody in the room can see. There's some fabulous art at the back there. I'm going to describe for the people who can't see it. I'm colorblind. Blue and white. Well, that's really hard to describe, isn't it? A repeating shape, I would say, with symmetry across one of the diagonals. There's a line of reflective symmetry, almost. Sort of repeating patterns a bit fractally. If I knew what that was, okay, so that's right. That's enough for, if you've got 8 pictures in front of you, you say that's the one I was describing. That's the alt text you would attach that image in a page. But you need a longer description. I can see there's a little card next to it that gives a couple of paragraph or two saying what that is. put that somewhere else in your text and refer to it. Okay, that's what you do with diagrams. Right, Chiron is a tool that we've made at Newcastle over nearly a decade for producing accessible versions of course notes, HTML versions from a LaTeX or a Markdown input. I've got a demo on the page there, but I won't click through it, but I might come back to it. So I will tell you what the context was at Newcastle that led to that being developed and how it's gone. So maths, stats and physics, that's my department at Newcastle, has around about 900 undergrads, around about 100 taught modules. I'm part of a digital learning unit, which is 6 part-time people. So I'm 4 days a week, everybody else is some number of days on work. And in 2017, when we started, most of our lecturers prepared their material in LaTeX. Annoyingly, almost all of the stage 1 lecturers used handwritten notes. That was the status quo 9 years ago. So in 2017, we had an incoming student with a long list of accessibility requirements. Enough that it was worth us really thinking hard about how we prepare our material and going to a lot of effort. What would have been a disproportionate burden would maybe proportionate now. So we looked at stage 1 first of all. We thought, well, we're going to have to do this rolling through as the student comes up through the course. So we paid some students over the summer to take the handwritten notes and type it up as LaTeX, like to transcribe it really, because the lecturers said they didn't have the time. I don't disagree with that. But we knew this won't be the only student, and there are lots of students who have not complained yet, who should have complained, and this will help them as well. So our aim was to improve, rather than doing something for this one student that will disappear when they graduate, we'll improve our accessibility for everybody. My colleague George Stagg started work on Chiron under my supervision, and that was set in process. We initially went with the carrot, which was at all staff meetings, I stood up and said, we need to do this. You have a team of people who can support you. You don't necessarily need to do anything yourself other than give us your notes and we will transcribe it for you. We'll make sure it's accessible. There we go. So some lecturers, what's that called? Narrative tension, dramatic. It's coming. Some lecturers took this seriously. A handful understood the brief. They said, oh yeah, absolutely. That's something we should be doing, and produced accessible material on their own, which saved us some work. Some went along and said, yeah, here's my notes, please transcribe it. I don't know what to do, but you're the experts, which is good. Some even used their own tools. Bookdown is a thing I learned about. The statisticians like it. Cool. Some lecturers did not take it seriously and they riled me. So after 2 years, the take-up, I would say, was very low. So we aimed, this student was coming through the course, so we aimed for all of stage 1 and 2 to be accessible by this point. Less than 25% of our modules, when I looked through everything, I would have said were the minimum level of accessibility. So I stood up again at all staff meetings, I talked to colleagues, and the common things that they said were, first of all, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, I'll tell you again. But yeah, clearly some work to do in explaining what you need to do. Why should I go to all that effort for one student? So we introduced it saying, we've got this student coming through, we have to do this. So the response is, why for that one student? Because that student's on our course. Yeah? But, okay, this will help other students, and the feedback we've got from other students has been really positive. This has helped more than that one student who anyway. Third complaint, I'm overworked, don't have time to do this. Not completely fair. We're all overworked, and that's why I think that support from our unit, that we had that resource, was really important. And the last complaint, no emoji, is the student even any good? Someone literally said this to me. Why am I doing this for this student? Are they even any good? That's not a valid reason. Hope the student's not listening. I think they were a bang average student. Bang average, middle of the road. But they had a right to access that course, get that education. Yeah. Okay, so the stick came out. I have an admin role on Canvas, our learning environment, so I was able to look at every single course. For the first few years, twice a semester, I looked through every module and looked, what material are you putting online? So I found the people who had done what we wanted, and that gladdened my heart. I found the people who'd done nothing at all, whose courses were, I mean, even me being able to see and having gone through the course once already, I couldn't work out what was going on. It was just poor teaching. So I snitched on them. I passed that on to the Director of Education and to the Directors of Discipline. Unfortunately for me, discipline in this case means applied or pure, not in charge of hitting people. And that kind of top-down pressure really helped. Us, from this unit that no one really cared about, didn't put the fear in, but the head of school coming and saying, no, you've got to do this, did. So that mainly worked. This line on the slide starts now, 2 years ago is now. 3/4 of our modules, I would say, have accessible material, which is almost all of our pure, in fact, no, all of our pure maths modules are good. So the graph there goes from 50% to 64% to 76% in the 24-25 academic year. I didn't have time to check this year. So the remaining quarter, I think, are almost all physicists who use PowerPoint, and we've told them what to do. I don't have a tool that makes them use PowerPoint properly, but there you go. So some work to do. So I've offered them advice. I can't offer them the same support we offered the mathematician. But that's really encouraging that everybody else, I think, we've done this. We've got them. Got them putting their LaTeX stuff through Chiron. A lot of them are doing it independently. We have a workflow now that I think Andrew was quite pessimistic about it. I think we've got it that people are just coming to the department even and just doing this. This is the standard way of doing things now. Okay, so do I have like 2 minutes?
Yeah, you've got 5 minutes.
5 minutes, that's fab. I told you, I got it. It was an hour and I chopped it down to half an hour. Okay, so good, success story. I'll end with just some more stuff. Yeah. So here's a list of accessibility tips to improve your teaching. When you're lecturing, don't speak to the board. I'm trying to really help with you because that's quite an oblique angle for me. Don't use colour as the sole means of conveying information. I mentioned I was really colourblind. I could not access one of the modules in my undergrad because the lecturer relied on a laser pointer and to present it like this. I'm holding the clicker sort of close to my chest and waggling it. I had no idea where the dot was on the screen. Yeah, I couldn't see the dot. But either way, put things up. The red equation is the most important one today. What have all the blue dots on that diagram got in common? Yeah. Okay, so good. Write alt text or captions for all images in your text. Easy to forget because you don't see them. You're not accessing the thing that way, so keep it in mind. Use it. No one's discussed today. There's an accessibility guideline requirement for reading age. To get a AAA level, you have to have a reading age level for your writing of like 12 or something. Because if that's a government information page, if it's like an NHS thing, that's the populace. There are people with that reading age. What do we do for a student coming into university to study maths? What do we say? What should your English reading level be? Don't know. Anyway, a simpler structure is better. use simpler English, structure your material with proper headings and things that can be referred back to. When you're talking, describe what you're talking about. I've tried my best to say what I've been pointing at here. I hope I've done my job. But two biggest things. If you want to succeed, plan for accessibility first. That saves you so much effort. Those first few years for us of taking existing material and transcribing it and trying to make it accessible, the resulting stuff was acceptable. If you are planning a new module, think about, how do I make this accessible? What different ways might students struggle to engage with this? I think doing that work up front will save you time and will lead to a way better result for all of your students. And finally, ask for help, because you're mathematicians. Your job isn't really, you didn't sign up for learning a load of stuff about web accessibility guidelines. It's absolutely unreasonable that you should keep all that in your head. So it's completely fine to ask for experts for help. Put pressure on your head of department to hire someone like me who is the expert in that kind of thing. Yeah. Right. I've got a couple of pointers to other stuff just before I finish. I had an excellent student called Scarlett Spackman a couple of years ago, who we put together some guidance on accessible teaching. So having done the stuff about notes, we then looked at all the other stuff to do with teaching. What's your presentation in the lectures like? What's your communication over the VLE like? Made some really good guidance there. Read through it. Would you mind pressing F5? Actually, I was cheeky and added a slide and forgot to tell you about it. There we go. I'm gonna. Oh yeah, I might have to. I just really scroll way down. I didn't show off my thingy configuration. Right, there we go. Right, okay. Then the other project I've had on the go in the past couple of years, guidance on running accessible events. It's both a list of guidance and a checklist. If you are running a meeting, a conference, doing a public lecture, we've got a load of good stuff on how to make that accessible. We just thought, people are doing this stuff, let's write it all down and share that good guidance. So that exists. Right, and finally, there are some people working on accessibility. The main thing to point to is the GISC Maths Working Group, which I think Cordelia, are you still in charge of that? Yeah, Cordelia is in charge of that. That's a great community. Okay, so there we go. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Christian. Do we have any questions?
Sorry, just personal loyalty to Vincenzo. Other LaTeX and HTML converters are available.
Yeah, of course.
Specifically for the alt text description you gave,
Yeah.
I thought it was quite. You physically described that picture there
Yeah.
in alt text. Quite often, when we're including images in lecture notes, for example, we're trying to convey a specific idea or realization. Is it better to focus on the physical description and allow realization to come in, or is it better to?
No, yeah, that was bad practice. The alt text should give the reader the information they need out of the diagram. So if you put that there for a purpose, the alt text should contain that information. If it's a chart, you might want to describe the direction of the trend line or something. I didn't know what that thing meant, so I had to describe it structurally as I saw it. But yeah, if you know what's in there, describe that.
Andrew, did you have a question?
Yes, I was going to ask, so for those of us who can't convince our heads of department to hire you, what advice do you have for universities that don't have this kind of skills?
I mean, we're putting guidance online, make use of that kind of stuff. It really falls on someone in your department to become an expert on this kind of thing. If you're not the kind of department where people talk to each other, then everybody has to work on this. I think that it's an unsatisfactory situation where so many universities who don't have dedicated accessibility experts. So keep putting pressure on your management to change that. But yeah, make use of the guidance that's around both the stuff I've presented and there's more.
Maybe just actually slightly to add to that answer too is, I think an argument sometimes can be made, as you did in your presentation, this isn't just an accessibility thing, it's a pedagogical thing. There are pedagogical reasons we should make these changes. It's not just about disability and that one student.
Yeah, so I don't know if that was Cordelia said that this is that pedagogical improvements happen when you make these changes. Yes, I haven't got any stats on how much this improved our students' experience, but just anecdotally, lots of students have said they've made use of these things and haven't necessarily linked them to being an accessibility change, but said, oh, I really like how I can, you know, get through those. I like how I can copy that bit of text out into my OneNote. Yeah.
Just to continue on that note, at Leeds we ran a focus group a few years ago, and we found that students, disabled and non-disabled students, were, when they were given these options to customize, they weren't just customizing it to the one specific thing they wanted, they would customize it to different things for different situations. So customizability of these HTML formats isn't just I can get it how I want it, it's I can get it how I want it for the situation.
Yeah, so situational differences, yeah. The hour-long version of this has a lovely slide on the different kinds of disability, of permanent, temporary, situational kinds of disability, or access need really rather than disability. I mean, we all do this, don't we? Like you're reading something sometimes, I don't know, maybe it's just me getting older, like you make the text a bit bigger, maybe you're outside and you want to change the contrast a bit. It's completely reasonable that the students are doing that as well.
So we've got a question from online that's about lecture style. So I guess traditionally lots of people will do chalk and talk, and demonstrating the maths live is often very important, but this then has accessibility issues. Is it better to use slides, or what would be your thoughts on that?
I don't really have, what's the word, standing to, I don't do any teaching. I think the absolute ideal would be to do all of those, because people there are mutually exclusive access needs. Some people will get a lot out of the in-person lecture. Some people will get a lot out of a pre-prepared thing they can do in their own time at home. I don't have an opinion on which is better because I don't think that tracking works.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we thank Christian again, please.